I love it. I personally love it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the best defense is a lethal offense. You got to take into consideration the level of competition. We can't just look at the Titans in a vacuum. We got to look at the rest of the AFC and what they're bringing to the table. I like what the Buffalo Bills did, but we all know it comes down to Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, and they don't have much help, even though I think they just acquired Sammy Watkins. But the point is, you look at Miami. I'm looking at Tua Tagovailoa, and they've got some things to improve on their offense. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. Obviously, they drafted Najee Harris, and we know what a Steelers fan I am. There's something to be reckoned with, but they still got stuff to prove because obviously you've got people looking at Big Ben Roethlisberger and wondering what's going on with him. The Baltimore Ravens going to be there because of Lamar Jackson, but how much have they really upgraded in terms of their receiving core? The Cleveland Browns are what they are. They vastly improved, but was it a one-year fluke? I mean, they're going to be battling in the AFC North, so you got something to think about there. Houston's a mess in the South. Indy, we still got Carson Wentz there. He's got to show that he can resurrect his career. And Jacksonville ain't relevant yet. And then the standard is really Kansas City right now. And Kansas City, how are you going to stop them? It ain't going to be because Bud Dupree left Pittsburgh and decided to go to Tennessee. It ain't going to be because Janoris Jenkins is there. It's going to be because you keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. Or you got a potent offense. So if I've got you stacking the deck, loading the block to make sure that Derrick Henry doesn't run for another 2,000 yards this season, okay? Well, not only do I have A.J. Brown to throw the ball to, but I got Julio Jones. Yeah. Because I got that, I can't stack the deck. And if I can't stack the deck, can't load the block, bottom line is I'm giving the ball to Derrick Henry. Those kind of things can lend itself towards you being more potent. And I think Mike Vrabel has shown us throughout his years coaching in Tennessee that somehow, some way, particularly around postseason time, just when you had question marks about what they'll be able to do and how much noise they'll be capable of making. They've made some noise in the postseason, and I think this is a step in the right direction.
I want to go to Key on something. Keyshawn, listen to this. So I got the odds here to win the AFC, and actually the Titans are 7th, which I find surprising. So they got the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Browns, Broncos, and Colts ahead of them. Do you think that's accurate?
I think it's pretty accurate. Give it to me one more time. What team in there?
Okay.
Give it to me again.
So it's Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Browns, Broncos, which is kind of interesting to me.
Anticipating Aaron Rodgers.
And then the Colts.
The Broncos was interesting. If Aaron Rodgers goes there, the Broncos, they jump significantly. They might be 3 in that list of teams, depending on what they have to give up in return to get Aaron Rodgers. When you look at it, look, Stephen A., here's what I would say. Yes, they got 2 dynamic bookends, but that means you have to go away from what your staple is, which is running the football, in order to look at Buffalo, to look at Kansas City in the eyes, to even to a degree, look at the Baltimore Ravens. You say you don't know what they did. They went out and got Rashad Bateman, who they drafted, Sammy Watson. If he stays healthy, he can be pretty good, as well as Hollywood Brown. So you know what they are offensively. And on top of that, they went out there and they got 2 wide receiver coaches and a guy named Keith Williams. You've never heard of him. But trust me, Stephen A., when I tell you this, nobody's better than him in the NFL. And he came from college. Okay? He's trained Devontae Adams along with Tyreek Hill and a host of other guys. And then T. Martin, who came from college. You've seen the receivers he's developed in his young coaching career. So they did some stuff on the offensive side that makes me go, I don't think the Julio Jones thing, based on everything that they did, they needed to go that route. For me, what I wanted to see, New England, the Raiders, maybe Green Bay, San Francisco, all try to get Julio Jones.
Well, for me, I just want to make sure, because I meant Sammy Watkins with Baltimore, not Buffalo. So so I appreciate that. The other thing is this. The AFC East, the AFC North, beating up on each other. We can't ignore that. And then when you get to the South, really the only team you worried about is Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, the division is not terrifying.
The division is not terrifying. And so I look at it from that perspective too. And I take it to, so now you're talking about, okay, you pulling the New England here. You know how for years New England was playing in the AFC East and you didn't have much to worry about. And then basically you're talking about them winning 2 playoff games. Yeah. That's how I view Tennessee right now. Get to the postseason. And then, all right, now you got to win 2-3 games.
I have a question for you, Keith, because Stephen A. brought up a good point, and you guys both were talking about the fact that the identity is running the ball, right? And that's partly because the offensive line is a good run-blocking offensive line. My question for you is, when you bring in someone like Julio, does a line have a chance through scheme to go to get better pass protection? You know what I mean? Is that just, are they good run blocking because they have Derrick Henry? It's a point of emphasis, or can they get better in pass protection?
Well, the pass protection is only play action pass, right? They did that last year. Think about it. Both receivers in Corey Davis and A.J. Brown essentially had 2,000 yards between the two of them. So they do throw the football. What you got to realize in these situations, when you get somebody like Julio Jones, the mindset changes for the new offensive coordinator. All of a sudden, he thinks that the offensive identity needs to change because you got a prolific star wide receiver and you get away from doing the things that you do best. That is what is going to be the problem with the Tennessee Titans. On top of that, their offensive coordinator, and Arthur Smith, is now the head coach in Atlanta. So there's a huge difference there from what they did over the last year. And I think that that's what a lot of people are missing. They're just looking at Julio Jones, 1,600-yard receiver, 1,500-yard receiver, and they think you're going to duplicate that. If you're the Tennessee Titans, you should have kept Corey Davis if you're going and getting Julio Jones. In this system and in this style, you've given up assets. You've given them up for a 32-year-old guy with a lot of money that you have to commit to. When you develop this Corey Davis and you drafted him and you let him walk out the door.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.